Ladies and gentlemen, beer drinkers extraordinaire, I am so good, Raja. And here we are once again with our Brewers for Good series. And today we get to welcome Kyle from Midland Brewing. What's happened, Kyle?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Thanks for joining us. We're really appreciative of you taking some time out of your very busy day to talk to the Brewers for Good community about all things Midland Brewing. So welcome to the program. All right. So for the uninitiated, talk to us a little bit about Midland Brewing. Like, what's the history behind your guys's?
Yeah, so Midland Brewing's got a history. So it originally started up in 1933 after Prohibition, and they were making some new stuff. They were trying out some new things, and it failed miserably. So they were located in downtown Midland. So in 2010, a couple brothers got together, and they're like, "Hey, we should start Midland Brewing." They were some home brewers, and they're like, "Let's do it." They couldn't get the original building because the newspaper had moved into there, but they started up on the outskirts of town and sort of got it going. Unfortunately, they closed in 2015 due to multiple things, and another guy came in and bought it and just kept it going. And after he came in, we really redid marketing and we redid our branding and the beers. And that's actually when I joined the business, was with the new owner. And since then, we've been growing. We've been doing historical styles while still doing innovative new things. We like to try a bunch of different stuff. I love working with spices and whatnot. But at the end of the day, sometimes I just want to go home and have a Pilsner, like something simple, and that's all I want. You know, some sort of lager or whatever. So we do a lot of different things like that. And we like to have fun and play around.
That's awesome, man. You know, I've learned over the years that brewers are a lot like mad scientists, right? And having an opportunity to really get back with them in the lab and kind of see the science behind what ends up in a glass is, to me, as interesting oftentimes as what goes on in the front of the house. So it's always really to get the perspectives of the brewers and what it is that makes them excited about coming in to make beer every day.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of times where, we have brainstorming sessions and whatnot. Like, hey, what beers do we want to bring for this season or whatever? And not my craziest ideas usually don't make it to the tap because people are just like, that's insane. Why would we do that? And sometimes I just brew them anyway. And, and then I end up drinking it. So that's fine.
Right. At the end of the day, it's all about self-expression, no doubt. So talk to us about the space. Like, for people who've not visited you yet, like, what's the vibe? What would we encounter if we were to come and pay you a visit?
Yeah, absolutely. So on site, we have a 15-barrel brew house, 30-barrel fermenters, but we also have a 3-barrel pilot system. So you'll get some specialty beers that you won't find in distribution. We have a full restaurant which serves awesome food. We have a smoker on site. We do, pulled pork and brisket and stuff like that. Absolutely amazing. The chefs just do incredible work. And, I get to taste test, so that's not too bad. We also have an awesome backyard space, which we're expanding and starting to do more things now that we're sort of past COVID and that stuff. We can start doing more activities and whatnot. So we've got a cornhole field in the back. We've got a nice patio. We've got a beer garden outside. So you can just come and hang out, have some beers, and just relax in the outside. And then this building that I'm sitting in right now is our Red Keg Barrel House and Event Center. So these are all different things between beers and some other things that I'm working on that we're not releasing yet, but some fun stuff. And then we rent this out for various events. We have a lot of different parties and whatnot. And that's always fun because, I like to put different beers on for people, and it's a good time. So it's a very relaxed vibe here, very chill, but it's a place that you can, if you have kids, bring the kids. There's an ice cream store right next door. So you can, and we made sure that there is a path that goes right there. So if you want to grab a beer and then go get some ice cream, totally doable.
Beer and ice cream is not a terrible combination. And, it's amazing to me about the notion of the way that breweries and tap rooms oftentimes are social spaces that just happen to serve beer, right? Like,
right.
It's amazing how they become kind of pillars of the community in many ways. And just because you may or may not like beer doesn't necessarily preclude you from participating and spending time there, no?
Yeah, exactly. So like we try to have something for everybody. So yeah, beer is our focus and it always will be. But we do offer spirits and mixed drinks. We have wines. we try our best to have something available for whoever comes in the door.
All right. So you crazy mad scientist, you got some stuff going on in there. But if I was the beer drinker that I am and I was headed your way, what would be some of the flagships that I would be anticipating once I hit the door?
Yeah. So first and foremost is our Copper Harbor. It's a light amber ale, which fun story behind that one. It was actually a mistake. When the original brewers got the brew house, they were like, okay, we're going to make an amber just to get the system dialed in and everything. Well, they screwed up the ratios and all that stuff, and it came out really light. But they noticed, hey, this is actually pretty good. So that has very, very much become our flagship beer. It's about 60% of what we brew and distribute throughout the state is Copper Harbor, named after the color, but also at the time they spent a lot of time up in the Keweenaw Peninsula and in the Copper Harbor area. So it's a cool little homage thing to that. On top of that, we have our Rollway IPA, which is a super classic Centennial IPA. You can't go wrong. Centennial hops are just beautiful and wonderful. So that one's amazing. For darker beers, we have our Boom Run Oatmeal Stout, which is the newest addition to our core beer selection. So that's currently available tap only, but it may or may not be coming to cans soon.
Nice.
You might have some insider knowledge there.
Hey, Brewers for Good community. You heard it here. We might have some distribution coming on a new label, which is always fun. How about seasonals? What do you got going on for seasonals right now?
So seasonals, we do a variety of things. So we have our American wheat is very popular, very citrus forward and refreshing, that we release in the early summer months. Also, our smoothie series is very popular. We do a lot of smoothie beers, our main one being One Night in Bangkok, which is a tangerine basil smoothie IPA.
Oh, wow.
That actually, yeah, it's amazing. I love it. So it's my baby. We took silver with it in 2019 at GABF in the urban spice category. So we're very proud of that beer. And the other smoothies are just fun because we put in 900 to 1,500 pounds of some fruit, and you just get this amazing thick beer that's just refreshing and tasty and just wonderful.
So man, I swear, I'm getting in the car right now. I'm gonna head out there. Yeah. So in the vein of like Hop Slam, Bells, when there's a time of the year that like everybody kind of is anticipating a Hop Slam, do you guys have something similar like that in your calendar? That is something that your patrons look forward to the release of every single year?
Yeah. We actually have two of them. So the One Night in Bangkok release in August is always a big thing. We get people coming in buying cases and just excited to get it again this year. And I'm the same way. I'm usually going home with a case or two on canning day. Sure. So I usually have my friends calling me like, hey, you got any of that yet? Like, can I come sneak some? And then on top of that, we also have our Jenny's Raspberry Sour Shandy that we release in the spring. That was one that we put on tap as like hey, this is a fun summery thing to kick off the season. But it actually turned into a huge thing. People absolutely loved it. So we do that one as well, is a pretty big release for us.
All right. So I got to know, who's Jenny?
Jenny was the original owner's wife.
Got it.
And
Got it.
Yeah. So
it's kind of a
fantastic
tribute.
lady. It is, absolutely. And she is a wonderful human being. We see her every once in a while. So
that's cool. A lot of times when I'm in a tap room and we're talking beer, the background of like how these things got named oftentimes is a story unto itself. And it's fun to kind of hear like how we arrived at some of these names. Are there any other of your beers that have names that have kind of a unique story that are tied to them?
Oh, man. So I'm a big believer in every beer needs a name. Sure. I don't like calling a beer like this is our IPA or whatever. It needs a name. Sure. Like it's got to have an identity. So like the smoothie series, they're all named after 80s pop songs. Come on. Every single smoothie that comes out is always an 80s pop song. And the rule is when we brew that beer, that is the song that's playing.
Oh, all right.
It has to be playing. So I like to think it infuses the music into it. It's a fun little thing. But a lot of times we come up with some crazy name that, you know, the sales guy or the owner is just like, there's no way we're calling it that. It's like, yeah, all right, that's fair. And yeah, we have so many of those discussions.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So it's kind of like a little rabbit hole now that people could go down if they wanted to sort of spend some time looking at the different beers that you've got in that series and relating them back to the songs that they're tied to. You know, as a child of the 80s, like I'm kind of wanting to go to my Googler right now myself just to get an idea of what we're talking about, because that hits me right in the feels, because 80s were my decade. I was a teenager in the 80s. So like I can only imagine what some of those might be. And it gives me all that much more reason to want to come hang out and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. So we're merch people. That's our game. You can see my So Good Brewing Company hat here. That's got the really cool underside.
Oh,
What's the merch game like at Midland Brewing? What's your guys' opinion on merch?
So merch, it's always weird. So look, we're right on the Pure Marquette Rail Trail. It's literally in our backyard. We have a connection directly to it. So we get a lot of bike riders and runners and things like that. So we usually have something for them. We did bike shirts for a while. We've done like water bottles and things like that. But we're actually going through a bit of a update on our branding. So our classic crest is being updated and modernized, and we're starting to dive more into fun colors and fun designs and things like that, you know, for shirts and hoodies. And we're definitely going more into seasonal merch so we can help, you know, get people what they need and what they want. And we want people to rep the brewery, and we want them to enjoy what they're wearing.
Yeah, man. Nothing like a walking advertisement. I was kind of, as I've been listening to you talk, I'm thinking like, remember Wham, Wake Me Up Before You Go, like bright neon colors and big bold lettering and like maybe some tie-dye in there, right? Like, so
now we're talking.
Like it would be right in that lane for sure. But that's cool to know that you're right there next to that public space that people, and you're catering to the people who are using that in a way that makes the merch utilitarian, because a lot of times, like, it's one thing to have something with a logo on it, but something that's useful and tied to what a demographic actually is really into oftentimes is really the secret sauce behind doing merch really well. So good on you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we try our best. And the rail trail is awesome because it goes all the way downtown, and there's other bars. There's a new brewery that just opened up earlier this year down there. And, you know, we've been wanting to do like some collaboration stuff. And we have in the past where we do like a bike ride thing that starts downtown and makes its way to the brewery, or starts at the brewery and makes its way downtown, or whatever. And that's always a fun time.
Yeah. So we're a couple weeks from Thanksgiving. We're really sprinting towards the end of 2022, looking forward to 2023. Do you have any stuff going on between now and the end of the year that people might want to know about?
We get a lot of people buying cases and things like that. So there will definitely be some like case discounts and things like that coming up in the next week or so. And some fun new holiday themed beers will be coming out. I'm brewing one tomorrow, so don't quote me on this because it has to work first. But the plan is a cranberry spruce smoothie IPA to get that like wintry feel, but also the tartness of cranberries. Cranberries just screams holidays to me. Cranberry sauce is one of my favorite things.
Sure.
I won't start Thanksgiving unless we have it. Yeah. Many stories about that, but we can't get into that. So that should be fun. But then I'm also experimenting with some other spices and herbs that lend more of the Christmassy holiday vibe. Like that's sort of what we're going for.
Dig it. I like it. That's awesome. Yeah. How about 2023? You got anything in store for next year that people might want to know about?
Well, we're working on lots of barrel aged stuff. We want to do some unique stuff, you know, not just like heavy hitting stouts and things like that. We're going for more cocktail inspired, again, like with the herbs and spices, using them in a different way and trying to create something that's unique and fun and delicious. Obviously, that's our our number one goal is we want it to be a delicious beer, but we want to present it in a way that's maybe new and maybe challenge people to try something new. Like, hey, you've never heard of, we just did a grisette, and most people have never heard of a grisette. So we spent a lot of time, hey, just try it. It's, it's a farmhouse style. It's a little funky. Just give it a shot. And we blew through it. People, once they tried it, loved it. So Midland's really starting to get more into craft and the varying styles and things that can be in a craft beer.
That's cool, man. I was at Ipsy Beer Fest and then again at UP Beer Fest. And a couple times guys, when I asked them that question, they're like, hey, I got an alt beer. You want to check that out? And, like that's to me, it's like going in the side room through the secret passage with the special knock and the password. Like most people don't even know when you say alt beer, like, what are you even talking about? Right. So the idea of like having that crazy something that's just completely off the reservation kind of idea, I think really is a testament to the science of beer and what goes into being able to make things that people just wouldn't have any other idea about otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always seen, my job as a brewer is to push that envelope. Like, we got to do the classic styles and we got to do them right. Totally. But we also have to innovate and try new things and take risks. And it's not going to work every time. Unfortunately, you might have to dump something sometimes. We don't like to talk about it, but it happens.
Sure.
But I think it's completely necessary to keep innovating, to keep growing the craft market and, make some good beer.
Yeah, man. I mean, everybody, if you're the quintessential sort of stereotypical craft beer drinker, it's like, what's your IPA? All right. So Brewers for Good being what it is, right? We like to support brewers that do great things for their staff, great things for the community, and great things for the planet. Midland Brewing is no different here. You guys have a really special story when it comes to the ways that you would fit into the Brewers for Good mold. So I want to give you the stage here to talk about that part of what Midland does and what that means to you.
Sure. Yeah. So we like to be very conscious of the environment and the people in our area. So we're constantly trying and finding new ways to, whether it's energy savings or our solid wastes or things like that, things that we can do to better not only our business, but the world, because we have one planet, we can't leave it. So we should make it good, right? So we're currently actually going through a whole audit of our energy uses, gas and electricity specifically, to not only reduce our costs, but reduce our usage. We also we love working with different foundations in the area, just from a community standpoint. We do stuff with the Humane Society. We have the Independent Living Community Foundation here in Midland, and we like to work with them and try to just build the community. I mean, that's ultimately what craft beer is all about. And we want to embrace that and really help others join our community and like, hey, you need help. Okay, great. Let me help you. And then let's have a beer afterwards. This doesn't have to be a competition. And that's part of what I love about this industry so much. It never is a competition. Like, I can go to wherever and run into the brewer from Founders, and him and I are going to, talk and chat about something. And then, hey, can you help me move a couch or whatever? And yeah, of course, man. Like, let's do it. And that's may or may not be a true story. It's wasn't a guy from Founders, though. It's somewhere else. But regardless, it's building that community and embracing it and growing it. I think is super important to create change and to create a growth in such a way that we can be proud of. And ultimately, that's what we're doing.
So many times we'll run into a tap room and start having conversations with some of the people who are patrons at the brewery. And you just start asking people like why they support the places that they're spending time in. And, on the surface, you would think, well, it's beer. And yeah, I mean, good beer is a draw. But so many times when you start digging into the backstory around why people have chosen a specific brewery as the place that they spend their time, a lot of times it's these stories around, well, I have a relationship with the brewery because of their support of whatever it is that that person cares about, that then creates this sort of emotional connection with the consumer when it comes to, like, sometimes, you know, maybe I don't even necessarily like all the beers that this place puts out, but I love what they do for the community, or I love what they do for their staff. And like, that's what keeps us coming back. And I think that's really a testament to what Brewers for Good has been all about, is this idea of the 330 some breweries in the state of Michigan, you know, there's a handful of brewers that have demonstrated behavior like what you're talking about, where they're, you know, they've stood up and planted their flag and said, we're here for more than just making beer. We're here because we want to be a member of the community and we want to make sure that we have an impact.
Exactly. And, you know, nobody's perfect. We're not perfect at it. We're always trying to grow. So I make sure, from a beer standpoint, I talk to our bartenders and our front of house staff and just, hey, what are you guys hearing? Like, what do people want? Because I can spend some time with them, but not much, because, you know, I'm making beer or running quality or whatever. So getting that feedback and having them know that they can come talk to me. Like, if there's a problem, okay, great, let's figure it out and let's solve this problem. You know, there's many times on a weekend where I'll get a text or a phone call, hey, this beer is pouring weird, we want to pull it. I say, absolutely, do what you guys think is right, and I'll check it when I can get there. You know, if I'm not around or whatever. Luckily, I live like 5 minutes from the brewery, so usually I can just come in and take care of it. But when I can't, it's nice having that trust between us and the front of house, where we can work through whatever that problem is and make it happen and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. All right. So final question. This is my favorite one. I didn't even tell you I was going to ask you this one, but it's a layup.
Trick question.
I'm sure you're going to have no problem. The craft brew community in the state is super tight knit. And I didn't quite realize just how tightly the binds between brewers really were until I started asking this question. So, Kyle, what are some of the other Michigan breweries that you admire and look up to?
Oh, geez. Oh, gosh. Can I say all of them? Because they're all amazing. No, I've always really enjoyed Brewery Vivant. Their beer is not only incredible, their staff is amazing, but their mission, like being LEED certified, and their energy savings and all of the stuff that they do for the environment is inspiring and always fantastic. I've got a lot of good friends in the industry that I've met through the industry that are doing amazing things. There's Loggers Brewing over in Shields. It's not too far from us. Tyler over there does some really crazy beers. He makes a beer with roasted peanuts in it, and he actually like lets it soak in the peanuts, and it's such a fantastic flavor. It's my wife's favorite beer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't tell you how insulting that is, but I love him for it. So every time I see him, Kelly, my wife, is always asking when he's making that again, because I want some. It's like, yeah, right. He knows. Like, we're going to get it for you. But it's always fun, especially like at the annual Brewers conferences and these festivals. You get to go around and talk to people that you might not have spoken to before. And just like, hey, I really liked that beer you're making. Like, that's really cool. And just starting that conversation is so easy in this industry, and getting a new friend, you know, or a new collaboration, which I love doing collaborations. It's always like, oh, here's my crazy idea. And they're like, oh, that's really cool, but we should do it like this. And it's like, oh yeah, that's sweet. Let's do it. And it's those barroom conversations are just, I love them. Fantastic.
You use such an important word, you know, collaboration. I liken making beer to a lot like being a musician, right? So once you've learned music, the rest of it is just a matter of self-expression and the opportunity to take the music that you make and share it with someone else and allow them the opportunity to lend their flavor to your vision. Oftentimes is what makes for really great music, and in a lot of ways, what makes for really great beer at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
All right, so dig it. I told you I'd land the plane in 30 minutes. We're at 28. Here we are. So just give the public sort of a general sense of like how do we get to you? What's the fastest way to find our way to Midland Brewing? Like where are you guys on the map? How am I driving to you?
Yeah, so we're in Midland, Michigan. We're pretty much 2 hours from everywhere. So regardless of where you are, you can get to us. If you're coming up 75, just get off at US 10, take it over. We're right off of US 10. If you are into biking, head to downtown Midland, hop on the rail trail and bike out here. You can actually keep going on this rail trail for like 30 miles, and it goes to another brewery, Four Leaf in Clare, another fantastic brewery that we're super good friends with. So you can pretty much get to us within 2 hours, regardless of where you are. It's nice being in the middle.
You know it. I'm thinking Brewers for Good bike rally, maybe come springtime, wouldn't be such a bad idea. It sounds like we've got the perfect bookends. 30 miles is just enough to get me thirsty enough to want to stop.
Perfect.
So Kyle, I really appreciate it, man. It's really great talking to you. And I'm sure the Brewers for Good community, one thing we're really good about is when we do visit, oftentimes we will tell you that we stopped because of the feature that we saw on Brewers for Good. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity of you sharing that feedback with me as people who catch this on the Brewers for Good Facebook page. And I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a fantastic conversation. Lots of fun. So yeah, if you stop by, just knock on the brewery window and I'm probably back there. I'll come have a beer with you.
Take it. All right, Kyle. Thanks, man.
Yep.